Hi friends, my name is Margaret and I work here at Golden State Pickleworks and Collective Cultures. Today I'm going to show you how to do an upcycled fermented vegetable condiment. We're going to take some things that you might normally throw away in the compost or the trash, and we're going to turn it into a nice pickly condiment. We're going to base it off of the cauliflowers and chilies that we used to do. We get a lot of questions about how we made that, so we're going to kind of do a variation of that in this video. So what I have today that we're going to work with, I have some fennel tops that are left over from the fennel bulb that I used. I've got some red kale stems after cleaning the kale, and I have stems and leaves and core of a couple cauliflower that I used throughout the week. They're a little oxidized, some of the leaves don't look great, but as I slice them up, we'll go through those. Compost anything that we can't use, but most of it should be fine to use. So you can use anything you have in your fridge, any kind of leftover things like that. Stems like this will give a lot of nice crunch after they're broken down a bit, so they'll be delicious to eat. So the first thing I'm going to do is chop everything up. I'm going to put it in a bowl, and then we're going to weigh that and see how much it weighs to kind of determine how much salt we want to use.
So I decided to chop everything by hand, but you could easily use a food processor for this part. This is also where you can go through your upcycled veg and see what things can be used, and maybe if there are some ugly looking pieces or things that have started to wilt a bit, you could go ahead and throw those into the compost. Now everyone into the bowl.
Okay, so now that we've gotten everything chopped, we're going to weigh our vegetable and see about how much salt we're going to use. For fermentation, you can use anywhere from about 3 to 5% salt. We're going to do it on the lower end because we'll add a little bit more when we make the paste that'll go on top. So I'm going to do a 3% salt for the veg. So this is where some math comes in. So I'm going to weigh this whole thing in the bowl. I did weigh the bowl already, which weighs about 11 ounces. So I'm going to subtract that from the total weight. So here we go again. So this weighs about 2 pounds total. So 2 pounds would be 36 or 32 ounces. I apologize. 2 times 16. And then we're going to subtract 11. So that's 21. So we've got 21 ounces of veg in here. So I'm going to take 21 and I'm going to multiply it by 0.03. And we need about 0.63 ounces of salt. So I'm going to transfer it to a bigger bowl, and then I'm going to weigh the salt out. So here I've got a little bowl. Make sure you tear it out, and then we'll do an approximate here. I'm just using plain non-iodized table salt. And if it's a little bit plus or minus, that's okay. Okay, so we're a little over 6 ounces. So now I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. We've got our bowl of veg. I'm just going to sprinkle the salt over the top. And I'm not going to massage it too hard because we're going to add some other stuff in. But I'm just going to give it a good mix. And then we'll set it over to the side and we will work on the paste. Okay, so now it's time to work on the paste. For the paste, we're going to use onion and garlic. We're also going to use a couple different types of chili powder. I've got chili pasilla, and I also have a ground New Mexican chili powder. You can use whatever you'd like. You could use chipotle powder if you like it a little bit more smoky. There's such a variety that you can experiment and see what you like. I've also made a little bit of 4% brine. So whenever you're making brine, all you have to do is multiply the ounces of water that you have by whatever the percentage of salt you want to use. So say you want to make a 5% brine, you take in this case we have 2 cups, so 16 ounces, and you multiply it by 0.05. So simple enough. For this much veg that we have, we're going to kind of guesstimate how much paste we'll need. So I like it to be nice and flavorful. So I am going to use a couple heads of garlic in this. A lot of what we do here, or what we've done here at Golden State Pickleworks, is trial and error. When you're doing fermented things, they don't always work the way that you want them to. So with this kind of recipe, with this cauliflower and chilies, Sam was thinking about wanting to do inspired by kimchi. She wanted to do like a Mexican version of that. So something that had a nice flavored chili paste. And of course, in Mexican cuisine, onion and garlic are always common with whenever you've got chili paste. So we're just going to kind of guesstimate how much we're going to use here. Make sure you save the ends of your onions. You can always use those for stocks or things like that. When you save your bones, you make your own stock, so you can save any sort of trim for that. So I'm gonna guess, I've got 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna add about a quarter of a nice size onion. And for the chili powders, let's go ahead and open those up. We'll do maybe a tablespoonish of each. I like things to be highly seasoned, so I'm not scared of a little bit of flavor. If that's too much for you, you know, all of this is for you to try at home, for you to get some ideas and make some good food, make some fermented things. So, you know, experiment, see what you like, see what kind of flavors you prefer, and try it out yourself. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of brine, just enough to kind of get the whole thing going, and then we'll see if we need any more to make this paste work. So it's a little thick. Show it to you here. So I'm gonna add a little bit more brine to it. You can always add some brine at the end if you feel like you want it to be a little bit saucier. Again, this is experimentation and it's totally up to you. So I'm thinking that looks better. It's a little bit more soupy and it'll be easier to spread onto our vegetables. So next we're gonna move all this stuff out of the way and get to mixing it onto our vegetables. Okay, so we've got everything cleared out of the way. We've got our bowl of vegetables. Don't mind if I have any tears. It's just the onion from the paste that's making me cry. Now, often I don't wear gloves at home, but with this kind of thing, with the chili powder, I prefer not to have to scrub it out of my hands, so I'm gonna use some gloves. So we've got our veg here. It's looking good. It's you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's the salt has pulled a little bit of the water out of there, so that's nice. So now I'm gonna add our paste. We're gonna see if it's enough. Let's hope so. Ooh, I like the way that's looking so far already. Here, I'm gonna tilt it up so you guys at home can see. Looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna use it all actually. I'm even going to use my hands since I have gloves on. I'm gonna use my hands. That way I don't have to dirty something else, dirty a spatula. I might as well just use my hands, right? Gloves are gonna go in the trash anyway. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think. So now we're just gonna give it a really good mix. Woo, that onion is making me cry. I apologize for that. Oh, I like the way that that looks. Now, once we pack it into a jar to let it ferment, I might add a little bit more liquid. Just, woo. Sorry, excuse me for a minute. I'm gonna have to wipe my tears off my face. Okay, so while I was wiping my tears away, thought I would go ahead and grab a couple jars. So I'm just gonna use a couple of large ball jars and we'll see how much will fit in each one. I don't know if I need 1 or 2. I might only need 1 actually for this. This is the messy part. You're guaranteed to make a little bit of mess unless you're cleaner than I am, but that's okay. In cooking, you can make a mess as long as you clean it up. That's what we always say. This is going to be delicious, I think. All right, so I'm not going to fill it all the way full. You want to have a little bit of room to breathe when you do fermented things. It might rise a little bit and then sink back down as it ferments. We've noticed that in the past. I'm going to set what I have. I have a little bit left. I'm going to set that over to the side. I'll put it in a smaller jar a little bit later. But this way I can just kind of show you how I would finish it for right now. And what to do next. I'm gonna get rid of my gloves. I made a nice mess. That's okay, I'm gonna clean it up. Okay, so I grabbed a washcloth. I'm gonna just wipe around the outside, clean up my mess a little bit. So I've got some cheesecloth. I'm gonna cut a piece of cheesecloth and put it on top and kind of press it down. Then I might layer it with a little bit more brine just to make sure we have plenty of brine. We don't want it to get dry in there. It just won't taste as good. And we've always found it's better to have a little bit more brine than a little bit less. So I'm just gonna push this down, kind of really pack it in, get that cheesecloth in there. The cheesecloth helps so that if you do end up with any mold growth on top, you can just remove it and throw it away and get a new cheesecloth if you need it. If it's time for it to go in the fridge, you probably won't need it anymore. So we're just gonna really pack it in there. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit more brine. Like I said, I like to have it nice and juicy. Also, the liquid sort of ensures that everything is covered, everything has enough water. It'll kind of settle down in there, it kind of helps keep it protected. The salt is what keeps the bad bacteria away, and but the good bacteria can go ahead and do its fermented thing and help break everything down and give it that nice pickled flavor. So we're gonna leave it like this. I am gonna put a lid loosely on the top, and then we'll just leave it on the counter and check it in about a week. All right, so it's been about a week. We're gonna go ahead and check and see if our upcycled fermented vegetables with chilies is ready. It smells delicious. So one thing you might notice during the process of fermentation, you might see a bunch of bubbles. We often get questions from people that say, I opened up my, insert your fermented vegetable here, and there was bubbles, or it was effervescent, or it was under pressure. That's just the natural fermentation. It's the bacteria breaking down the vegetables, releasing that sour flavor, but it also releases gas at the same time. So sometimes you'll notice some bubbling going on. Totally normal, totally natural. It's part of the fermentation process. So it's looking great. We'll see if we used enough salt. That'll kind of determine how crunchy it is. We find that if we use a little more salt, our vegetables tend to stay crunchy as they ferment. So let's take a bite. It tastes great. Nice and crunchy vegetables. There's still plenty of brine in here. It would make a great condiment for something such as breakfast tacos. So I've just got some soft cooked eggs, scrambled eggs here, tortillas, a little avocado. Let's put a little bit of our delicious fermented upcycled vegetables. The nice thing about using something as pungent as chilies and garlic and onion is that you really can use any vegetable then on it. We chose cauliflower because it's so mild. But you can use any of the stems. Like I can't really distinguish what's what, which is nice. So let's take a bite. I hope you've enjoyed your journey into fermentation. We've enjoyed having you come along and learn about what we do here at Golden State Pickle Works and Collective Cultures. And we hope that you'll find some inspiration to ferment at home, or at least understand a little bit more about what we do and how fermentation works and how it can benefit you. Thank you. Please let us know if there are any other videos or things you'd like to learn. We're here for you, and we appreciate all your love and support. Thanks.